These are people who seek to kill Mr. Kelly.
Kelly didn't just fall from grace. He landed in a prison system that, according to his lawyers, is slowly trying to take him out for good. Word is he got attacked behind bars yet again, and the way it all went down makes it clear somebody on the inside wants him erased permanently. Now let's get into how this so-called hit squad came to light.
They say that R. Kelly woke up allegedly on June 13th and he felt faint. He was dizzy. He started to see black spots. He got up and he fell.
It all traces back to a man who was running out of time faster than a cheap clock on the corner. Mike Hill, better known in the system as Glenn Stein. This guy wasn't just any inmate. He'd been locked down since 1982, a convicted killer with decades of violence on his record. He was feared as a shot caller for the Aryan Brotherhood, and his rap sheet even includes threatening to assault and kill federal officials back in 2015. But here's where it gets wild. In February 2023, while he was rotting in a Colorado Supermax, Stein swore under oath that something insane happened. He said a Bureau of Prisons official, Reed Childress, came to him directly, the same guy who had allegedly used him before to order brutal beatings and even killings of other inmates. According to Stein, this wasn't new. For over a decade, he'd been working for the feds in exchange for perks like no cell searches and the green light to move contraband. Only this time, the meeting was different. Childress pulled up with Warden Gutierrez and Associate Warden Steinley, no guards in sight. Suspicious doesn't even begin to cover it.
There was an inmate that came forward before, and that stated that he was hired to kill R. Kelly. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah. I never believed that stuff.
Stein, already marked by a terminal cancer diagnosis, was basically treated like a man with nothing to lose. And then came the chilling deal from hell. He was told he'd be transferred to FCI Butner in North Carolina, where R. Kelly was serving his time, and his mission was simple but deadly: eliminate the fallen R&B star once and for all. The promise to Stein was chilling. He'd take the rap for the murder, but the conviction would magically disappear because the evidence would somehow get lost in the system.
According to documents that R. Kelly's legal team just filed, they are alleging that there is a man, last name Stein, who is a gang leader, a big gang leader, and that he has provided a sworn statement to them that prison officials offered him his freedom to spend his last days free if he would allegedly kill R. Kelly.
That's how deep this setup ran, with officials allegedly ready to bury everything. And the reason behind this plot? Stein's paperwork spelled it out clear as day. Childress allegedly called R. Kelly a predator of little white girls and claimed he was the kind of target the Aryan Brotherhood would celebrate taking out. But the bigger issue wasn't street-level beef.
Now, the way that this man says that this was supposed to go down is that he was supposed to kill R. Kelly, allegedly, and then he would get charged for it, and then he alleges that prison officials were going to fumble the evidence and ultimately bury the case. They would then allegedly transfer him to another location where he would be allowed to escape and stay free.
It's just him. It's a few people that when they got these long cases, suddenly they all got plots to murder them and they all want to get out.
It was politics. Childress warned that Kelly's high-priced legal team was getting ready to expose dirt that could drag down powerful BOP brass and even high-ranking DOJ officials. That made Kelly not just an inmate, but a real threat to the empire. According to the whispers,
so R. Kelly's team is saying that all this is happening because they've been investigating whether R. Kelly's rights were violated throughout the process of his trials, and that they're alleging they recovered some information they were, and that this information was going to come out. So this is a response allegedly to
this dirt included illegal wiretaps of attorney-client calls and blatant obstruction of justice. Kelly's lawyers say the feds used those secret recordings to strong-arm witnesses, even pressuring his ex, Rod Clary, into testifying against him, paving the way to his conviction. If that's true, then Kelly's entire trial could have been built on crooked foundations. Stein admitted he was no angel.
These two witnesses, according to these documents, and according to R. Kelly's legal team, were flipped on R. Kelly based on this in-house informant. This in-house informant by the government allegedly went to Adriel Clary, went to LaShonda, showed Adriel Clary some communications that R. Kelly, emails, phone calls with another woman outside of Adriel, because y'all know she was dating R. Kelly. Yeah. And they allege that because of the communications that were shown, he then influenced her to be the government's key witness.
It's just him. It's a few people that when they got these long cases, suddenly they all got plots to murder them and they all want to get out forever.
Blood already on his hands from back in the day. So at first he agreed to play ball, and the feds wasted no time. Within 2 weeks, they transferred him out of Arizona and dropped him at FCY Butner in North Carolina on October 17, 2023. They kept him tucked in the medical unit until March 2025, when he finally landed on Kelly's block. The moment he touched down, a suit came through with the cold reminder, "You need to handle what you came here for." From then on, Stein was shadowing Kelly like a ghost, tracking his every move, plotting for weeks. With both men housed on the same block, he had near unlimited access to Kelly's daily routine. Stein spent weeks studying Kelly's weak spots, waiting for the perfect time to strike. But something unexpected started eating at this hardened killer's mind. As a dying man staring down his own violent past, Stein said he had a change of heart. He decided that killing Kelly just to cover up dirty secrets from BOP officers and government officials wasn't the kind of stain he wanted to leave on his soul. So instead of carrying out the hit on April 11th, 2025, Stein flipped the script completely. He walked straight up to Kelly and laid it all out. "I told him the real," Stein confessed. "I told him I'd been sent to kill him. I told him how."
He says he will take a lie detector test, and he will testify if he has to.
And by who? "And I told him his life was absolutely in danger." Imagine hearing that from the same guy who had been stalking your every move for weeks. The shock must have been terrifying. But Stein's change of heart turned into a nightmare for the people behind the scenes. Now there were two men who knew the truth: the target and the hitman who refused to pull the trigger. Stein made it clear that he was ready to expose it all. He offered to take a lie detector test, testify in court, and even name witnesses who could confirm his long history of carrying out BOP-ordered violence. He tried to frame his decision as redemption, trading one more killing for the chance to blow the lid off decades of federal corruption. But the pushback came quick. Lieutenant Teague allegedly kept pressing him, demanding he finish the mission. Stein stood firm, refusing to budge even as the pressure mounted. Then came the wild twist. On June 6, 2025, Kelly's legal team discovered that another Aryan Brotherhood member at FCI Butner had been approached by the same BOP official, Lieutenant Teague, and told to wipe out both R. Kelly and Stein. The so-called backup plan came through another Aryan Brotherhood member, David Keith Harris. Just like Stein, he was expected to carry out the dirty work without asking questions. Harris later revealed in his own statement that Lieutenant Teague laid out the gruesome details, even suggesting methods for the hits, including slipping poison into food at the chow hall or lacing commissary items to take Kelly and Stein out quietly. This plan was twisted because it was so clean. Poison could be explained away as health issues, like Kelly's blood clot problems, or written off as an overdose. By dragging commissary snacks into the plot, the threat became nearly impossible to dodge. Kelly couldn't just skip meals at the chow hall. The danger followed him even into his own purchases. But just like Stein, Harris refused to play ball. Instead of carrying out the orders, he told Kelly's lawyers exactly what was happening. Soon enough, supporters online were blasting out his name and warning the public about the poisoning threat. To Stein, this confirmed the darkest fear. This wasn't just about eliminating Kelly anymore. It had become a cleanup job. Both the target and the witness had to go.
I don't believe that these charges are true. I mean, I don't believe these women are being truthful. I don't.
The timing couldn't have been more intense. This second approach happened just days before Kelly's legal team dropped their nuclear option, an emergency motion demanding his release. On June 10th, 2025, Kelly's attorney, Bob Brinley, filed the explosive motion in federal court in Chicago, asking for Kelly to be moved to home detention immediately because of the alleged assassination plot. And here's the kicker. The motion came stacked with sworn statements from both Stein and Harris. Both men offered to testify, even take lie detector tests to prove their claims. The filing accused 3 top BOP officials, a warden, an assistant warden, and another high-ranking officer, of orchestrating the plot. The names stayed sealed, likely due to ongoing litigation, but the message was clear. Keeping Kelly locked up was no longer just punishment.
So they say that he woke up, or Kelly woke up allegedly on June 13th, and he felt faint. He was dizzy. He started to see black spots. He got up and he fell. He crawled to the door of the cell and he lost consciousness then. At that point, he was placed on a gurney.
Kelly's lawyers argued this was nothing short of cruel and unusual punishment under the 8th Amendment. His life was in clear and present danger. And here's the kicker. BOP records really did confirm Stein's transfer from Arizona to North Carolina, giving at least some weight to his story. But when pressed, the Bureau refused to comment, hiding behind privacy and security concerns. The prosecutors weren't having it though. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago clapped back hard, branding the entire murder-for-hire narrative as nothing more than a wild fantasy. They dragged Stein's criminal history into the spotlight, saying his credibility was trash.
He was taken by ambulance to a nearby hospital because they tried to take him to the hospital inside of or associated with the facility that he's in, but they couldn't help him.
Prosecutors flat out called the claims fanciful, fantastic, and deeply unserious, accusing Kelly's team of trying to manipulate the court with a conspiracy theory that belonged in a movie script, not a federal courtroom. But just when it looked like the motion might get laughed off, the story twisted in a way nobody saw coming. Within 2 days of the filing going public, Kelly's world flipped upside down again, this time with a terrifying new development that felt ripped straight from a crime novel. The morning of June 13, 2025 started off like any other for R. Kelly, locked in his solitary cell at FCI Butner. He had been thrown into the hole right after the emergency motion hit the courts, officially for protection.
His team alleges that it was overheard someone in the ambulance from the hospital say this is going to open a whole new can of worms.
But Kelly's legal squad claimed it was nothing but payback for daring to expose the murder plot. And then it happened. Kelly woke up feeling lightheaded, his vision breaking into dizzy flashes and black spots. What went down that day would either prove the most explosive allegations ever made against the Bureau of Prisons. Kelly tried to stand but collapsed hard, dragging himself to the cell door before blacking out completely. Prison medical staff rushed in but couldn't handle the crisis on site. The situation was so severe, they had to call an ambulance and ship him straight to Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina.
So according to R. Kelly's legal team in the first filing, and they reiterated in this one, that whole plot to uncover the fact that there were things that were done wrong when it came to, remember I talked about like the flipping of the witnesses and all these things that they're alleging happened. Basically, they're saying the government and the prison officials have been covering up the fact that they did whatever they needed to do to convict R. Kelly, allegedly.
But Kelly's legal team swore this wasn't just a medical scare. They called it a straight-up assassination attempt. According to them, prison staff deliberately gave Kelly an excessive dose of his anxiety and sleep meds, pushing him into a near-death collapse. The timing was too perfect, just days after the murder-for-hire allegations went public. His attorney, Bo Brinley, claimed that while Kelly was in the hole, staff gave him his normal prescriptions, but then told him to swallow an extra dose the next morning. That's when his body crashed, sending him spiraling toward death. And once he hit Duke University Hospital, the nightmare only deepened. Tests allegedly revealed a toxic overdose of blood pressure and anxiety meds at life-threatening levels.
We did ask the Bureau of Prisons about the allegations. They said they do not comment on pending litigation.
On top of that, doctors found blood clots in both of his legs and lungs, a condition that could kill him outright if untreated. Kelly's lawyers blasted the Bureau for yanking him off blood thinners despite his medical history, basically setting him up for disaster. Doctors were clear, the clots were no joke. They ordered a full 7-day hospital stay and surgery to address the blockages, emphasizing that untreated clots in his condition could turn deadly fast. But Kelly's lawyers claimed the hospital's orders were flat out ignored in favor of what they called a calculated cover-up. They alleged that BOP officers stormed into his hospital room, pulled him out at gunpoint, and dragged him back to solitary confinement against direct medical advice. The coldness of this move was unreal. Blood clots in the lungs, pulmonary embolisms, are one of the deadliest medical emergencies anyone can face. They can trigger sudden death with zero warning, and the medical standard demands immediate care and close monitoring. By yanking him out, the Bureau wasn't just ignoring doctors. They were gambling with his life. Brinley blasted the decision, warning that untreated clots could kill Kelly at any moment. His team fired back fast.
Oh, you don't believe that stuff?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe anything.
I mean, there's some documentation that,
You don't believe the man, huh? No, I don't believe.
On June 16th and 17th, they updated their court motion, openly accusing the Bureau of deliberately overdosing Kelly as part of the ongoing assassination plot. Brinley didn't hold back. They gave him an amount of medicine that could have killed him, he said, tying it directly to the timing, just days after the murder plot first hit the courts. And here's where it got even more explosive. The allegations went beyond malpractice. Kelly's lawyers claimed the entire sequence was caught on prison surveillance cameras. They argued the footage would show everything. Kelly entering solitary, handing over his usual prescriptions to guards like protocol required, and then being given that suspicious extra dose by staff.
It's just him. It's a few people that when they got these long cases, suddenly they all got plots to murder them and they all want to get out forever.
Add in the hospital records showing the overdose and his premature removal, and the defense insisted they had undeniable proof of a murder plot unfolding in real time. Kelly's legal team showed just how desperate things had gotten when they pulled a move nobody saw coming. They went straight over the court's head and appealed directly to then-President Donald Trump. They grimly begged for a presidential pardon, arguing Trump was the only one who could save Kelly's life since the courts were dragging their feet. It was a wild Hail Mary that screamed how little faith they had left in the traditional system. The government's response was as dismissive as it was brutal. On June 15th, prosecutors led by Assistant U.S. Attorney Jason Julian fired back, branding the allegations a fanciful conspiracy and deeply unserious. They accused Kelly's team of mocking his victims and argued the court had no jurisdiction to change his sentence. And they didn't stop there. Prosecutors painted Kelly as a prolific predator and warned that if he was released, it could open the floodgates for convicted murderers and terrorists to demand the same. The courts wasted no time either. On June 20th, U.S. District Judge Martha M. Pacco flatly denied the motion. She said she lacked authority to grant furlough or home detention, even in extreme cases, and slammed the filing for not showing enough evidence. What made it sting even more? She dropped the denial without even holding a hearing, a sign that the allegations weren't taken seriously enough to investigate further. But even with the door slammed shut, the fallout didn't stop there. These accusations, whether rock-solid truth or desperate fabrication, exposed just how dangerous and fragile the system is for high-profile inmates. And while Kelly's conviction for crimes against children remains the shadow hanging over him, the fact that sworn declarations, official transfers, and named officials were tied into such a sinister plot raises a disturbing question. The public's reaction was all over the place, but the majority leaned skeptical. On social media and in the press, many said Kelly's legal team was just pulling a sensational stunt to try and spring him from prison, throwing around claims too wild to easily disprove. Still, others pointed out something darker. In prison culture, threats against men with Kelly's type of conviction are always real, even if they're not orchestrated by officials. Violence against those inmates is practically coded into the walls, part of what convicts call prison justice. And to understand why, you have to look at the brutal hierarchy that runs America's prisons. It's a system where even hardened criminals draw lines, and anyone convicted of certain crimes gets pushed straight to the bottom of the chain. That's exactly where Kelly landed, making him a prime target from the start. Long before the assassination claims of 2025, the reality of that danger came crashing down on August 26, 2020. Back then, Kelly was awaiting trial at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago when he found out firsthand why his charges put him in constant jeopardy. Around 9:45 a.m., fellow inmate Jeremiah Shane Farmer slipped away from a guard during a distraction and went straight for Kelly. Farmer wasn't some random cell block thug. He was a convicted member of the Latin Kings with teardrop tattoos marking the bodies he dropped. His rap sheet was chilling, tied to the 1999 hammer murders of two businessmen, 74-year-old Marion Lowry and 67-year-old Harvey Seeger. When he made his move, it was ruthless. Farmer stormed into Kelly's cell while he was asleep on the lower bunk, climbed on top of him, and rained punches down on his head and body. The brutal assault only came to an end when a prison officer finally stepped in, ordering Farmer to stop. But Farmer refused, forcing the guard to unload pepper spray just to drag him off Kelly. The R&B star was left with cuts, bruises, and blows to the head. He didn't need hospitalization this time, but the psychological scars ran deep. Kelly became paranoid and petrified, convinced Farmer's crew would come for him next. Right after the attack, officials threw Kelly into solitary for his protection, while Farmer got shipped out to another prison. But here's where things took an even wilder turn. Farmer himself later dropped a 4-page handwritten bombshell, a legal motion titled, "The Government Made Me Attack R. Kelly." In it, he straight up claimed he was pushed into the assault by the feds themselves. Farmer said he was boiling over with frustration thanks to COVID-19 lockdowns at MCC, which cut him off from legal help and the law library. He described clashing with a mental health staffer who allegedly mocked him, telling him, "Go do it then." According to Farmer, guards then shadowed him and practically let the beatdown happen, only stepping in after he unleashed on Kelly. His motivation was layered with rage, not just from the endless lockdowns triggered by protests outside in support of Kelly, but also from his personal disgust at Kelly's crimes. In his handwritten complaint, he branded Kelly a pedophile and called his crimes disgusting, claiming that's what fueled his attack, and this fits the Cole Prison Code perfectly. Inside those walls, inmates convicted of sex crimes, especially against kids, are seen as the lowest of the low, often treated worse than murderers, drug dealers, or even gang leaders. This isn't just prison folklore, it's a deadly reality. A 2017 study revealed that nearly 40% of assaults on sex offenders were carried out by inmates who saw the violence as justice or a way to protect society. Inside the walls, this vigilante mindset runs deep, and the targeting goes far beyond simple outrage. Many inmates are fathers themselves or survivors of childhood abuse, and they see crimes against kids as the ultimate betrayal of innocence. For them, attacking a convicted child predator isn't just payback, it's redemption. And when they succeed, it skyrockets their status in the prison hierarchy. Accounts from former inmates and even Reddit discussions make it crystal clear. Child molesters are treated as fair game. Each beating or stabbing isn't just violence, it's a reputation boost for the attacker. That code creates a brutal reality for offenders like Kelly, whose case involves multiple underage victims and decades of accusations. Prisons often tuck sex offenders into protective custody units to shield them from the storm, but even there, stigma follows. In general population, the choice is stark. Check in for protection or risk savage beatings, stabbings, or worse, sometimes with gangs orchestrating the hits. For Robert Sylvester Kelly, the danger is off the charts. Prosecutors branded him a prolific predator, citing multiple underage victims, and his illegal marriage to Aaliyah at just 15 remains one of the most infamous scandals in music history. That history paints a massive target on his back behind bars. And here's the twist. Kelly's celebrity doesn't shield him. It makes the threat even greater. Fame amplifies everything. It makes him both a high-value target for violence and a headline waiting to happen if someone gets to him. Kelly's presence behind bars hasn't just drawn attention, it's disrupted entire prison operations. His high-profile cases have sparked lockdowns and ramped up security, and other inmates blame him for the chaos. Add in the nature of his crimes, and you've got the perfect storm for constant danger. The 2020 assault wasn't some freak one-off moment. It was part of a long, documented pattern of violence against inmates like him across federal facilities. Prison gangs, from the Aryan Brotherhood to the Latin Kings to the Bloods, enforce the brutal anti-child molester code in their own ways. Sometimes it's about punishment, but more often, it's about boosting status. Attacking someone like Kelly isn't just seen as justice. It's a way for the attacker to climb higher in the prison hierarchy. But here's where the hypocrisy gets exposed. Take the Aryan Brotherhood, the same gang tied to some of the later assassination allegations against Kelly. They love to present themselves as so-called protectors of children, using that label to justify brutal attacks. But the truth is far uglier. Plenty of AB members have faced charges for the very crimes they claim to hate. One AB member was sentenced to 60 years for repeatedly assaulting a 14-year-old girl. Another case saw a former Aryan Nations leader slapped with 50 years for crimes against a minor. Yet another AB member was caught soliciting a child. The hypocrisy is impossible to ignore. Mickey Glenn Stein, the very Aryan Brotherhood member who allegedly refused to take out Kelly in 2025, was no saint himself. His rap sheet was stacked with decades of violence and crime, proving that even the hitman who found his conscience came with plenty of blood on his hands. Meanwhile, Kelly's family has never stopped standing by him. His relatives continue to claim his innocence, no matter how overwhelming the evidence looked in court. After one of Kelly's sentencings, his uncle Gregory Preston spoke out, pledging unwavering support for his nephew despite the storm of allegations. Even his estranged brother Bruce, who had been beefing with Kelly legally, couldn't hide the conflict in his heart when interviewed during his own legal troubles. This hurt my soul," Bruce said. "I don't believe these charges are true. I don't believe these women are being truthful. I don't." Those words reveal just how deep the divide runs, even within his own family. Inside the prison walls, the psychological warfare on Kelly is relentless. Every day brings the looming possibility of violence. Every interaction with another inmate could be the one that ends in blood. Combine that with the crushing isolation of protective custody, and you've got a pressure cooker that breaks even the hardest men. As of now, R. Kelly remains locked away at FCY Butner. Since the explosive events of June 2025, no major updates have surfaced. That silence is chilling. Does it mean the assassination allegations were buried? just like his lawyers warned, or does it prove the prosecutors were right all along, that this was just the desperate invention of a fallen star? So what do you think? Is R. Kelly being silenced inside the system, or is this all smoke and mirrors? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it this far, sound off below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the scandals shaking the culture.